This episode is a little RV 101. That's right, recreational vehicles like mine that I travel the country in. Whether you're looking to buy one, you're going to rent one for an upcoming trip, or you just want to know what I live in for a few months of the year, this episode is for you. There was so much to look into when I began thinking about getting an RV. It all started when I took my first trip to Colorado in May of 2022. I fell in love with the area and I kind of dreaded returning home to the concrete jungle of Atlanta. And I started to fantasize about a life where I could have both of those things. How could I take off and experience nature and all the cool stuff our country has to offer without giving up my home? I spent hours and hours a week for months researching on YouTube and listening to podcasts to determine which RV was right for me. I loved YouTube channels like Grateful Glamper and podcasts like Girl Camper, RV Life Podcast, and Rockin' the RV Life. I think the first major decision is what type of RV you're interested in. You'll need to take into consideration how much space you need, your lifestyle, and how mobile you'll be, other vehicles involved, and your budget. There are three main groups of motorhomes. These are drivable and have the maintenance of both a vehicle and a house. The first type of motorhome is a Class A. These resemble a tour bus and are usually 30 to 40 feet in length. These are either gas or diesel powered and have a flat face with a large front windshield. Class A's are great for the full-time RVer since they have a lot of comforts of a sticks and bricks home like full-size appliances. Most have slide outs to provide extra square foot when not in motion and lots of storage underneath. A lot of Class A owners choose to tow a small vehicle on the back so they can park the RV and still have a way to get around in their location. These guys are going to cost you at least $150,000 new, and I've seen some at RV shows that were upwards of $400,000 with amazing luxury finishes. Next is Class B. These are your camper vans that are great for the mobile and solo traveler. Being around 17 to 25 foot long means you can maneuver and park these guys much easier than the other models. They still pack in the essential amenities like a full size bed, a kitchenette, a toilet, and I've seen some that have a small shower. They generally range in price from $70,000 to $150,000 new. Then there are the Class Cs. These medium-sized RVs are built on a truck chassis and have a distinct front profile that features a bed or extra storage space above the cab. Similar to the A's, Class Cs offer all your amenities of a small condo like a full kitchen, full bath, and full bed. A lot of models sleep five or more people, though this is not typically a selection for full-time larger groups. Some Class Cs are able to tow a small vehicle behind them, and the Class C RVs are averaging between 25 to 35 foot long and typically between $100,000 and $200,000. Then we have several groups of towable RVs. This means you don't drive them, you need the proper vehicle to pull them or at least move them to your permanent spot if you're stationary. One of the most common to see on the road is the travel trailer. These are towed usually by SUVs and trucks from a bumper or frame hitch at the front and are easily detached so that you can use the tow vehicle to get around after setting up the RV. I've seen them have anywhere from 0 to 5 slides and a few different awnings. Travel trailers can range from 8 foot long to 40 foot long with one, two, or three axles and be anywhere from 4,000 to 10,000 pounds. They'll usually cost you $25,000 to $80,000. Fifth wheels are your largest towable and are pulled behind trucks with a special hitch in the bed. The front section is raised to go above the truck bed, and that's usually where you'll find a bedroom. Like the Class A's, they tend to have higher quality finishes and full-size appliances. These are a great option for full-time living, even with a larger family, both stationary and on the go. Fifth wheels range from 25 to 45 foot in length and usually run about $40,000 to $200,000 new. Now, toy haulers are your towables for all the gear and outdoor toys like motorcycles, golf carts, and ATVs. They have a large cargo area in the back that some owners use as the garage, or I've seen a lot of people use it as an office space or additional bedroom. The back doors are super sturdy and durable as the ramp to the garage or patio space for outdoor living. These guys are almost always 30 to 40 feet in length and have six figures as their price tag new. Then there's your teardrop trailers, which are perfect for the solo traveler who prefers shorter trips and or has a tow vehicle with a lower tow weight rating. They include basic amenities like a bed, an HVAC system, and an outdoor kitchenette. They're typically only 8 to 10 feet long and about 6 feet wide and run you $6,000 to $15,000 new. Pop-up campers are what a lot of people grew up camping in with their families. They have a hard base and a top with fabric sides that fold out, but are compact when being towed or stored. They're really popular with the hobby camper since they're lightweight and very affordable. Usually, each pop out end is a double bed, and the middle is a kitchenette and some seating. I've seen some with more amenities like a composting toilet, an HVAC system, mini fridge, and sink. Though I've also seen others that are bare, like your basic tent. They're usually 8 to 16 feet long and run you $6,000 to $20,000 new. So here I am 2.5 years ago, all of these choices, and I got to pick the right one for me. The advice I'll give to you is to rent the one you're thinking about first and give it a test trip. There's a few companies out there for that, like Cruise America and RV Share. I choose to live on the dangerous side, and I dove right in, dropping $30,000 on my rig. My RV's name is Sheldon, and it is a 31.5 foot Winnebago Mini Winnie 31C on a Ford E450 chassis. It's a 2002, aka all the original decals were sun faded and cracked and peeling. So after having it a year, when I knew Sheldon was staying in the family for a while, I spent $10,000 to have it wrapped. The graphic designer for the company and I came up with this mountain and tree scene. I get a lot of compliments on it, and I never have trouble figuring out which is mine if I'm in a big, crowded campground. Here's some of the reasons I went with a medium sized Class C. One, I don't have to purchase a tow vehicle. I currently have a 4-cylinder Tacoma and an old Wrangler. Neither of those is pulling anything besides maybe a small pop up. I had the savings to buy the RV cash, but was not looking to purchase a tow vehicle at the same time. My RV has the potential to tow my truck, but I haven't felt the need to test that theory. And it's not about can you tow it, it's can you stop it safely. I'm pretty amazing at driving and parking this thing as is. I don't need an extra 12 to 15 foot behind me to worry about, especially since I travel solo so much. Sheldon is definitely large enough for me and my dogs, plus another person or two for long trips. The longest I've lived in it at a time is 2 months, and I've done several week plus trips with my dad as well. It technically can sleep seven, but the most I've had at one time is four. There's a full size bed above the cab, a jackknife couch that folds down to a bed, a dinette booth whose table folds down to a bed, a kitchen featuring a sink, a stovetop, a small oven, and a fridge and freezer. I have a toilet in the small bathroom and a shower across from it, but I just use the shower as clothes storage. And in the back, there's a queen bed with underbed storage, two small closets, and some cabinets. My slide out gives almost a foot and a half more width to the floor space in the living room, so it's a little over 200 square feet at its most spacious. I can plug into a 30 amp outlet to power up Sheldon, or I can run my generator for short periods of time. There's one AC unit on my roof and a propane furnace. The propane also powers the oven, stove, and fridge, but I can switch the fridge to electric when I'm plugged in or running the generator. When not using electricity, my house batteries can run 12-volt items like some lights, my slide, and the pilot light for the furnace, etc. Because I'm 31 feet, I can get away with saying I'm 30 feet, which is sometimes the threshold for parking spaces or campsites. I'm not saying I'm proud of it. I'm just saying if a campground says the space fits a 30-foot RV, it almost always fits an extra few feet. And who am I to take away a 50-foot spot from my larger RV friends when I can absolutely fit inside a 30-foot spot? Now, there's several different ways to camp in your RV. The most primitive is boondocking, which means you're not hooked up to water or electricity or sewer, and you're not in a campground. When I think of boondocking or dispersed camping, it's someone on BLM land out west or a remote location, and they're using solar panels or their generator to power what they need. I've heard of people doing this for weeks at a time or just one night on the go. This is almost always free. Now, I've never done this form since I travel solo so much. I've never really felt completely safe doing it, but you rarely hear of issues. Then there's dry camping, which is none of the hookups, but in a camping setting like a national park or forest. I did this for 3 to 4 days in Guadalupe Mountains National Park in Texas last summer, where I paid for the campsite, which, by the way, was just a spot in the parking lot where most of the trailheads are. But it was just the spot in the parking lot and nothing else. Though we did at least have access to the bathhouse there for the trailheads, and that had a dish sink around the back and a potable water faucet. I love to stay in state and national parks and forests. Most have campgrounds inside them, and those may have hookups or bathhouses and other amenities. I've stayed inside Grand Canyon, Grand Teton, Glacier, Joshua Tree, Hot Springs, Mammoth Cave, and Acadia National Parks in the last 12 months. Zion, Bryce Canyon, and Yellowstone have campgrounds that I saw when I visited, but I stayed just outside these parks. These campgrounds are usually about 30 bucks a night, and you can book them through recreation.gov. The next type is private campgrounds. These range from just a dozen small sites with no amenities to hundreds of different types of campsites like RV, tent, yurt, tiny home, cabin, etc. Some of the nicer amenities I've enjoyed have been pools, bathhouses, laundry facilities, game rooms, a dog park and dog wash, playgrounds, kayak and canoe rentals, yada yada. There are several campground chains out there like Jellystone or Thousand Trails, and yet the largest group, and my personal favorite, is KOA, Campgrounds of America. KOA's 500 plus locations are broken down into three groups: Journey, Holiday, and Resort. Journey locations are going to be convenient to highways with a great supply store and fewer amenities. People usually stay 1 to 2 nights on a road trip. Holiday locations are usually closer to major tourist attractions and have more amenities like a pool and laundry facility, so people usually stay here longer. The KOA resort locations have larger sites with patios available, on-site food, activities. You don't have to leave the campground if you don't want to have a great vacay here. I'm in a few Facebook groups for RVers, and I asked them what topics I should cover in this episode for someone interested in recreational vehicles. A lot of people said the different components on an RV and how to maintain or fix them. I'm gonna be honest, I don't even know if I maintain my stuff perfectly, and I've fixed some stuff, but that is not my specialty, okay? So we're gonna stick to the basics. Not all RVs have the following things, but I'll at least talk about what I have on my rig. First, there's the slide that extends out from the main body and gives more floor space. Most of these are from the left or right side, though every now and then you'll see one with a slide out the back. Most slide outs are powered by electric motors or hydraulics and can provide up to a few extra feet of width. My slide extends the dinette booth and the couch out about 18 inches, which makes a huge difference inside. My slide is powered by either electricity or RV component number two, the house batteries that I mentioned earlier. These are a special marine RV battery that look a lot like a car battery, but they're separate from the engine. Mine are housed underneath the RV stairs going outside. One of the best features for enjoying the outdoors is the awning. I have one large one on the same side as the door to the exterior, and there's a small one over the slide out that prevents leaves and debris from getting trapped when it's coming back in. The awning obviously provides shade from the sun when you sit under it, but I've also used it to shade the RV to keep it cooler. It can absorb the sun's rays instead of the whole side of the RV doing that, and that can help keep the interior temperature down. One time in Arizona, it was so hot and we had such little shade. I had the temperature set to 85 inside, and the AC unit could not keep up. 85. I'm not asking for much here. It was 103 outside, and the internal temperature was like 88 degrees. My dad likes to put the awning out when it's sprinkling and sit under it to enjoy the rain. However, you got to be really careful with these things. I've seen the aftermath of several being literally ripped off the side of the RV with a wind gust. Awnings can be damaged or ripped in just 20-mile-an-hour winds, so I never chance it. And the second the wind gets above 10 miles an hour, I put mine up. It could be thousands of dollars to replace the awning, so never leave it out overnight or if you leave your site. Earlier, I mentioned the propane tank. My RV's furnace, oven, and stove run on propane, and the fridge can run on propane when I'm not hooked up to electric. My propane tank is 18 gallons, and how long it lasts really depends on how much I'm using those four components that run off of it. The colder it is outside, or the longer I'm running the fridge on the travel days when I'm not plugged in, or the more pizzas I bake or omelets I make, the faster it runs out. Usually it lasts at least a few weeks in the colder months. And when I'm hooked up to electricity, I like to use a space heater instead of the furnace to save propane. Plus, my furnace blows such hot air that it messes with my sinuses. Fortunately, a lot of private campgrounds and truck stops have propane refill stations, and it usually takes like 5 minutes and costs a couple bucks per gallon. The last part I'm talking about is the plumbing system. Most motorhomes have several different plumbing components. There are two ways to use fresh water inside your rig. The first is from city water with a faucet that you hook up to your RV with a hose. This hose is only used for drinking water, and I keep it separate from everything else to not contaminate it. Or the second way you can store water is your freshwater holding tank in the event you're traveling a lot or you're dry camping and you'll want running water inside the RV, but you don't have hookups. Either way, inside the RV, these provide water to the sinks, the shower, and the toilet. So, what happens when the water goes down any of those drains? Here's the fun part. You have two kinds of wastewater tanks, gray water and black water. The gray water is from the sinks and the shower. It's not clean water by any means, but it is definitely not as gross as the black water tank from the toilet. And you can only legally dump them into proper sewer facilities. A lot of private campgrounds offer these at your site, and almost all private campgrounds, as well as a lot of national park and forest campgrounds, offer one main dump site that people can use coming in or leaving the campground. And RV dealerships and truck stops often provide dump stations that you can pay to use. Now, because we're talking pipes and their access to the air, if you're in a place that gets below freezing when you're not using your RV, I trust you are winterizing it. That's where you essentially remove all the water from the plumbing system to prevent pipe bursts because you're not in it and you're not heating it up. I mean, unless you want to be that person that parks it somewhere and uses up your propane tank throughout the winter and keeps the temperature inside high enough. You drain the tanks, blow out the lines with an air compressor, and add antifreeze. I pay one of the local RV repair shops like $100, $125 to do that each winter. That's the time where a lot of owners choose to do other annual maintenance like resealing the roof, rotating and covering the tires, etc. Then when I'm ready to use the RV again, I have to run a good amount of water through the lines at first to get all the pink antifreeze out. The last thing worth mentioning are all the basic items you'll need or want for your RV. If you're purchasing the RV from a dealership, there's a great chance it doesn't come with any of these things. Now, if you're buying directly from an owner, they may throw some of these things in there. First, we mentioned earlier the water hose if your model has a plumbing system. I also bought a flat storage bin to keep it in separate from anything else in the storage bays. I also keep the water filter and the 90-degree hose elbow in the storage bin too. The hose elbow connects the hose to the exterior water connection of the RV in a way that reduces stress on the hose. I highly recommend that you get a quality surge protector to not only test out the electric stand's functionality before hooking up your RV, but to also protect it from any surges in electricity in that row of stands. I keep that stored next to the amp adapter. I have a 30 amp RV. Some larger and newer models use 50 amps. Now, I've never seen a campground not have 30 amps available, but you never know. These guys can bridge the gap between whatever the outlet gives and your RV takes. However, if you're in a 50 amp RV and you're using that to hook up to a 30 amp outlet, you'll need to cut back on how many things you're using at once because it can only provide 30 amps. Y'all, I wish all campsites were level, but probably 50% of where I've stayed, I've needed to use leveling blocks to make sure the rig is completely level from side to side and front to back. Every now and then there's one low spot and I'll only use leveling blocks under one wheel. Usually though, it's at least two different wheels. As soon as I park where I'd like to be in the spot, I get my tiny little kitchen level out and I measure in the kitchen and at the back of the RV to see if one side is higher than the other. After doing this a few times, I can tell how far the bubble is off to know if I'll need just one or two or three levels of blocks under the wheels. I set those behind or in front of the wheels, drive on top, put her in park to test the level again. And if I'm good, I put the e-brake on and start setting up camp. I don't use wheel chocks with my rig, but especially if you have a non-motorized RV with no e-brake, you'll want to use these bad boys to make sure you don't roll away. There are several different types of wheel chocks out there based on what you have. So let's talk about that really fun black tank again, where everything from the toilet is held until you dump your tank. Most people flush their toilet paper in the RV. Yes, I said most. I can't imagine being someone that puts it in a trash can, but they do exist. It's really important that you use a special RV boat toilet paper, which is basically just faster dissolving stuff than what you buy for your house. That way it doesn't clog up any of the RV plumbing and tank components. I also highly recommend you purchase black tank deodorizer packs. After you dump your tank, you toss one of these guys down the toilet with some water, and it helps eliminate odors from the tank. Some brands will also help break down any waste and debris. The final group of things to buy for your RV are your household items like linens and things for the kitchen. You'll need at least one bed set for each bed and a towel for each person staying with you. You'll also want kitchen towels, plates, cups, bowls, utensils, mixing bowls, measuring cups, food storage, all the good stuff. Pretty much everything for a small kitchen. I bring my air fryer with me when I take the RV out, but other than that, everything else in my kitchen stays in the RV, and I have a different set of it for home. I even have olive oil, spices, and Ziploc bags that I leave in the RV. And don't forget your can opener and wine bottle opener and all the little things that you don't use every day. Then there's like your camping chairs, your outdoor blanket or mat, tablecloth, lanterns, and whatever else you need to enjoy the great outdoors. That's all for RVing 101. What did I miss? I would love to hear from you. Find me on Instagram at the.great.escape.podcast and send me a message. And don't forget to hit subscribe so that you can follow along and dream big for your journeys on the Great Escape. See you next time, adventurers.